players planet. You see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fire going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take you for your money, aim whatever else bring. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me. Guitar Players Planet. 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 Sunny skies, the smell of palm tree air. Looking back, I could never feel fair. The way that music has touched my soul, the way that the South holds its control. But I've got a new way to choose. I'm gonna start running back to the land of the new. see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fires going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take you for your money and whatever else spring. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me.
And we're up.
Oh, I'm on share screen. Whoops.
And we're live, guys. Welcome to AstroWorld TV.
Everybody. a little glitch along the way. Never hurt anybody. But welcome to Astro TV. We're here with Eric and Jason. And, tonight we got a couple of topics we're going to go talk about. I'm going to go over kind of how Ccd and Cmos sensors work. Eric is going to be going over the relationship between gain and exposure time. Now, we may be going over some of the same topics, but nothing helps but reinforce everything. So that's going to be good to hear. I did a lot of research on this, but please be kind to me. I'm not a sensor guru, so if I say anything wrong, please correct me and let me know. In between the two, well, actually, not right now because I'm going first now. But I'm going to be making two special announcements. So be on when we make the special announcements after my presentation. And please tell us if you like the process of the PowerPoints or whatever. If you don't like it, let us know. That'd be great, just so we get the feedback from you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube so you can get the notifications on everything. So with that being said, let's kick it off, and we'll talk about how sensors work. So let me just get my screen share back on that you actually saw before.
Yep, it's actually good.
I was getting a headache doing this last night because I'm a CCD guy, and it was kind of a, I'm more of like the, just show me how to do it and I'll do it. I don't care what happens behind the scenes. So that being said, let's talk about how sensors work. I keep on looking at the camera. I don't really have to, but so there are two different types of sensors that we have out there right now. The first one is a CCD. CCD is charge coupled device, and it's been around forever. If you remember the original surveillance cameras that we had way back in like the 70s, 80s, that was the chip that was being used. The Cmos is a relatively new technology, and it stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's got its pros and cons as well, but those are the two things that we got now. So your Cmos or your ZWOs, your ATICs, not your ATICs, your Altairs, all that kind of stuff. Your CCDs are your ATICs, your SBIGs, and a couple other ones out there, First Light. So some terminology. Some things that we should really start to define on certain things that we need to know before we get started. So what's a pixel? A pixel is the smallest point of an image. So all those nice little, red and green and blue kind of chips you see, those are pixels. If you were really old like I am, and you get really close to a TV screen, so close that your parents yell at you, and it's a tube TV, and you see the yellow, and those are pixels too. And then you got well depth. It got quiet in here. Ooh, there's like no noise. Yeah, I think everybody got shut off.
Jason shut his mic off.
So well depth is the largest charge a pixel can hold before oversaturated. We'll talk a little bit about blooming and anti-blooming and all that kind of stuff in a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about Ccd sensors. Okay, so how do they work? And it's a little bit long here, but you'll see some similarities between CCD and CMOS, but you'll see a big difference going about halfway down the list, where CMOS actually turns out to be a lot faster as far as getting your data to your software. So CCD sensors, the photons hit the pixel and are turned into electrons. That electron is accumulated in your well, in your image well. So each pixel, remember from the beginning, it says each pixel has a well, and that well can hold a certain amount of electrons. Now, we'll talk about what happens if you put too many electrons in that well in a little bit. But once you're done with your photo, the charge is then converted to voltage and amplified. So there's an amplifier, there's the analog to digital converter. So once the pixel rows are all amplified, so all the pixel rows get shifted over, and it goes through an analog to digital converter to create a photo based on the numerical values of each pixel. So depending on how many bits your camera is, it depends on how many shades of gray you get or how many shades of color you get. So if you got an 8-bit camera, you got 256 colors. Then you got 256 colors. So based on whatever number you have in each pixel, that's what color you're going to get. If you have a one-shot color camera. If you have a monochrome camera, then you're working in shades of gray, unless you got a filter. Well, hey, doggy. I heard the doggy. However, on a CD sensor, the pixels are all passive, which means they don't do any work. So everything just gets stored in the pixel. It gets stored in the well. Once that's done, it shifts over to what's called a vertical register. So basically, it's kind of like a lane for these pixels to go into. Shifted down the register into another register that goes horizontal, which goes outside the chip into your software. That's a big difference with CMOS cameras, as you'll see in a minute. So some pros of CD sensors. It's a really high quality conversion, very, very high quality. So that's very nice. There's very little signal added to any of the other components on the CCD board. So nothing kind of interrupts anything or disrupts any of the voltage or the amplification that you get with your CCD camera. You could bin your pixels, which means you could actually group pixels to get bigger pixels. You could kind of do that with CMOS cameras through software, but you could bin it right on a CCD chip, which does give you a little bit of an advantage on that. Usually the pixels are a little bit larger on CCD cameras than they are on CMOS at the time, now. CMOS is catching up really fast. So, the technology for CMOS is relatively new. So it's catching up really quick. So CCD sensors will probably eventually, unfortunately, go bye-bye. Some cons with CCD sensors, they're a lot more expensive than CMOS, and they are very slow as far as transferring data, whichever way you wish to say it, through your camera into your software. So because of the amplification method on the chip. So one big difference with CCD cameras, every pixel needs to be amplified in order to get to your software. So unfortunately, you got to go out to that vertical register that I spoke about before, down the horizontal register, out to an amplifier, and it amplifies each pixel after the fact. CMOS, and we'll talk about that now, CMOS actually does it a little different, where there's an amplifier on each pixel, which makes it a lot faster as far as data transfer. So CMOS sensors. Okay, CMOS sensors, the beginning is almost exactly the same. The photons hit the pixel. They go into a well. They turn to electrons. They go into a well. The charge is converted to voltage and amplified, but each pixel has its own amplifier. So you have 8 million pixels. You have 8 million amplifiers going all the way down and doing the work for you. So it makes it a lot faster because each pixel is capable of doing local processing. So it makes it a ton faster. Pros on Cmos sensors. It's way less expensive for now as compared to CCD cameras. And unfortunately, the Cmos at the time of today normally has smaller pixel sizes than CCD cameras. So we spoke a little bit about well depth and what a well is. Now, each well is different. You got to go through your manufacturer to find out what your actual full well depth could be. To give you an example, mine, the S-Big, is 25,000 electrons. So each pixel can hold up to 25,000 electrons. Now, if my camera did not have anti-blooming technology, you would see stars like this on your right. So what happens when you fill your well with too many electrons? What happens is, if you don't have anti-blooming technology, is that the pixel is going to overflow. I'll give you a little analogy. Imagine a well with rainwater. Okay, so the rain is raining into the well, just like electrons going into the well, and sooner or later, what's going to happen is that well, if it rains a lot, that well is going to start overflowing. And so what happens is the electrons overflow outside the pixel and starts infecting, it's a lack of a better term, infecting other pixels, and you start seeing these star lines like this that are kind of crazy. So that's called blooming. Okay, so it goes, usually you can get them horizontally, usually it's in vertically, but it's in a parallel direction of the spill. So just remember that, you want to make sure that you don't overexpose if you don't have anti-blooming technology, because you're going to get a result like this. Now, if you want a good result, you can get either not exposed past your full well depth, or you could have a camera with anti-blooming technology in it, which a lot of chips are coming out with now. And actually, the technology has been around for quite some time. And you'll get to see these stars are nice, they're round, they're not blooming anywhere. There's no massive star spikes that aren't supposed to be there. So it looks like this was done with a camera. I see a lot of diffraction spikes on there, but this is what a star field should look like at the same exposure as this one was if you had anti-blooming technology. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about quantum efficiency. I'm going through this so fast. Sorry, guys. It leaves us time for some sci-fi stuff. So, so quantum efficiency. Quantum efficiency is really important because it means how many photons that you're going to take in and actually efficiently turn them into electrons. It's never going to be 100%. Okay? So I know that some of the CMOS cameras, I believe we were just talking about before, that the 2600, was that right, Jason?
Yes, the 2600 just came out at 95 QE.
95.
Yeah, 95%. And most of the rest of the newer cameras from ZWO are all at, I want to say, between 80 and 90. I know that the 533, I want to say
80?
Yep.
85, something like that. And then the 2600 was at like 87.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So that means that what that really means is that 87% of the photons that's hitting your pixels are turned into electrons, which gives you more detail of your pictures altogether in a shorter period of time. So
you were talking about the actual well depth itself. I know both of the 533 and 2600 I have are 51,000 electrons.
Yeah, but that's also dependent on gain, though, right?
Yeah, I believe it's the same at 0 and 100. Yeah. And 100 is what it considers unity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100 is unity. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so quantum efficiency, you really want to get as high as you can, because then it just makes your camera more efficient in transferring those photons to be electrons. Just some minor takeaways on CCDs and CMOS. So for right now, CCD cameras are more sensitive than CMOS cameras, but CMOS is catching up very fastly. One of the main reasons why CCDs is a little bit more sensitive is that those amplifiers that I spoke about lowers the sensitivity of the pixel. So even though there's a trade-off between speed and sensitivity there. So CMOS is definitely cheaper than CCD right now. There are some CMOS that are really expensive. I saw one for over $2,000, and my CCD camera is an S-Big, and they actually just jumped the price. It's $2,600. So some of them, as you get into the bigger sizes of CMOSs, are catching up in price to CCD. So when you're looking for a camera, look for quantum efficiency. Get as high as you can, and also look and make sure that your camera has anti-blooming technology so you don't get those nice little spikes that we have. And I did it in 18 minutes. Oh, geez. I mean, there is a lot more to do. Let me get this off here. There's a lot more to do with why does this go to? I hope everybody saw that because it says I'm on a webcam. Everyone sees
you are on your webcam, not the Canon.
I was on PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, we were on PowerPoint the whole time. You're good.
Oh, good. I was scared. I thought you saw my. I was wee pad the whole time. You know what? I didn't start the chat box by accident.
I've been kind of monitoring it so far. People are just basically saying hi. Tarek thought you were saying, what was it here? Well, death.
Oh, well, depth. Sorry.
Yeah, Mark clarified the QHY. Yeah. QHY 600 and the ASI 6200 were both showing the 95% QE because they're the same sensor.
And that's insane.
That is insane. That means you're losing 5 electrons out of every 100, which is nothing.
And that's an average across the whole sensor, and that's a huge sensor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full frame.
Yeah, I'm losing on the KAF 8300. I'm losing 44 electrons out of every 100. so let's see.
That is just absolutely amazing to have that amount of efficiency out of a CMOS sensor.
Yeah, I mean it's getting
out of a commercially bought, not a true scientific. You know,
but that's where the line's really seeming to start to blur because the readily available cameras nowadays are so close to the scientific level that us backyard amateurs are able to, with the exception of the big scopes and all the extra processing, which we can't do with enough money, is becoming very affordable to the masses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're seeing a lot of the backyard guys getting exceptionally good at processing.
Yeah. Especially when you're sitting there and you're getting all that kind of data in that fast. I mean, it just saves you. You could actually get a nice set in 2 nights of data, and I mean, I worked on that Heart Nebula from November 1st to I think it was May. So, and that was only to get 30 hours worth of data.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna share my screen here a minute, I think.
Sure.
So you should still hear me on the stream here. So I'm on their webpage here, and I'm going to go over to the DSO cooled cameras, and we're going to click on the 6200. And I'll show you what you're going to look for on the different manufacturers' sites. If I zoom in here. The quick thing is going to give you resolution and things like that. You're going to see read noise. You're going to see your QE efficiency. So they're listing it here at 91 mark, but I believe you on the 95. But the well depth, 51,400 on that new 6200 mm Pro color. This is the mono version, but the fact that you're able to achieve this much bandwidth in an easily accessible camera is insane. You know, so we're looking here at the color, same settings, and you can also see as we get down here the difference between the front and back side illuminated, which is one of the things that I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later with Eric. But the efficiencies here is what's really going to make these new cameras shine. And one of the big things everybody kind of buzzes and talks about is that amp glow, but a lot of that's removed because of the way that they're treating the sensor and the way that they're handling the processing. So, you know, if I step back and even go into the 533, which is the camera I started with, you know, a QE of 80%, a full well of 50,000. That's insane. You know, you look at the predecessor to that, which would have been the 294 series, even the 183s, but let's go into the 294 color. You know, a much deeper well depth at 63,700. But your QE isn't listed here, but I want to say it was like low 80s. I don't know why they don't have this updated, but it's really making a huge difference in every camera that comes out by every manufacturer, because they're all using the same stuff. You know, the Altera Astros, the QHY, ZWO, they're all using the same chips. So what you're not really seeing is a dramatic difference between the actual capabilities, because it's just how they outfit the chip. The biggest thing that's making each camera shine is the fact that they're treating the interface differently, and they're writing the back end better. So now I got everybody back.
Oops. Sorry.
That's all right. We had to stay on me yammering about my screen.
No, it's all good.
You know, and I keep gravitating towards the ASI just because that's what I went to, because I chose the ASI Air Pro. But I've been doing a lot with Mark, who is a regular viewer and actually got me onto your guys' site. It really changes the game and how quickly they're coming out with these new cameras and how quickly it's advanced just in the last 2 years has been remarkable.
Yeah, there have actually been a lot of CCD makers out there. A lot of people that like the ATICs, the S-Bigs, are trying to scoop up all these CCDs from either Kodak or you know, the Sony CCDs that are out there. They're trying to scoop them up because a lot of them are not being made. They're actually taking them off the shelves because they're not making them anymore.
Yeah.
So they're trying to scoop them all up so they could, you know, survive. I mean, that's the one thing that the CCD makers are going to either have to kind of, you know, make a drastic change in their business model, and figure out what they're going to do to compete to the Cmos world, because the Cmos has taken the astrophotography field by storm for the past 5 or so years.
Just reading a little bit here. Frank was saying backside illuminated chips have a high QE since the readout circuit doesn't have to take up area, making actual well area larger.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good point.
Yep. And George, so gain is 0 and offset is also 0, yes?
Yeah, I don't do any offset. I haven't seen a need to. I shoot all my stuff at 0 gain just because I get better dynamic range.
Yep.
And it gives me the full capability of that particular chip. And with the 2600 and using the ASI Air Pro, they've pretty much locked me at 0 gain. You can cap out at 100, but you don't gain anything. So it's better to just shoot at a 0 gain with no offsets. And I've gotten pretty good results. I've only imaged 2 nights. It's finally clearing up, so I'm hoping to get out a little bit this week. But yeah, it's 112 out right now.
So you got to stop buying all that equipment, man.
I've stopped buying Astro equipment.
You're ruining. It doesn't matter. It's all related. It's all related, man.
But you know, the one thing that I've really enjoyed in doing this is just how easy it is to get into the hobby now. You know, I sit there and talk to some of the guys that have been doing this for a long time in our East Valley Astronomy Club, and it's just so much easier than where they had started, especially with all the Cmos cameras that are out now.
Yeah.
And the price point. You know, the backyard guys are getting in for about $2,000 to $3,000 for a decently outfitted rig.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I had a friend. I don't know if he's watching. A friend of mine from Virginia who was supposed to be a surprise. He knows about it now. But his wife called me up about 3 weeks ago saying, "Listen, Dan, you know, I know you've been talking about astrophotography and astronomy for the longest time, and my husband wants to get into it. So what do I buy?" I said, "Well, are you talking visual, or are you talking other things?" She's like, "No visual. It's okay." I said, "Okay, you know what? The Skywatcher Dobbs, the go-to Skywatcher Dobbs are on sale. Why don't you just get one of those, and they're go-to, and it's a whole thing, and they're decent, and they're fairly cheap." She's like, "Oh, okay, cool." I get a text message from the same friend who found out that he's getting a telescope. He's like, "Oh, Dan, I just want to know, by the way, if I were to go to, if I really wanted to get into astrophotography, should I stick with the Dob or something else?" I said, "No." Don't go with the Dob. That's the worst thing. You don't want to do that. Not yet. No. Get a mount, get a refractor, a small one, and start there. You know. But he's like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, I want something big." I said, "No, you don't. You're gonna end up selling it back to me in a year." You know. But I told him that, you know, you should really start with the wide field setup first.
Yep, I agree.
You know, and then, you know, move your way on up to, you know, the nice, you know, 2350 millimeter and a 9 1/4 or something like that. You know.
Well, and the wide field is a lot more forgiving.
Yeah,
when you're on the
absolutely.
learning curve.
Absolutely. Hey, Dan Janicek's online. What's up? And what else? Tarek. Is that gain 0 for color cameras, or do you use that gain 0 for mono as well?
I'm not shooting mono, so I won't speak to that. But most of the ASI lineup through ZWO you're going to get the most out of it at 0 gain, is my understanding.
Yeah, because you get the higher dynamic range at 0, right?
Yep. And even in the monos.
George Lutch said he got the L Extreme and the 2600 to try for my backyard as soon as the clouds go away.
George, you'll really love that setup. You know, I'm still waiting to do first lights. I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I'll get out there with the L Extreme and try doing just 20 images, the same target, with the L Pro, L Enhance, and L Extreme, so we can do a quick little shootout.
So Dan likes Jason's background. Eric, I love your background. I guess nobody likes my green sheet. So
we're working on that. We're going to get there.
We had a background. No, this isn't a toilet bowl over here.
I was waiting for that.
I was waiting for it, man. He's got a porta potty right there.
I tell you. All I gotta do is go Jason, you know, and he'll switch me off, and, you know.
Yep.
But I do have an announcement to make. I may as well make it now since we're about halfway, through the first hour.
Yep.
So I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and let's see. Actually, I have 2 announcements. Where the hell's the thing? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
You'll get there.
I will eventually. Share screen, application, Chrome tab. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, Amateur Astrophotography Magazine is a magazine that's put out once a month in digital form by, I forgot his last name. His first name is Steve. And he actually invited us. He invited us to be in the magazine every month, and he's going to put our videos and our promos and everything in their monthly subscription. So definitely go on to Amateur Astrophotography Magazine. I believe it's free, unless if you want to get some back issues. I think he charges you for back issues, but I'm pretty sure it's all free. And you can go there. You go to amateurastrophotography.com. The back, if you want the PDF, it's $10. So
there's the website. I've got it up for you.
Oh, it's not. It's
No,
not.
I've got your email up. So I went to my page with astroamateurphotography.com.
I went to a wrong tab. That's why. Let me see what you got on there.
I've got your Gmail.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there you go. So Amateur Astrophotography Magazine. They are a really, really informative magazine. If you haven't read any of it, go check it out. It's really cool. I do know that there are some other people that do videos that are in the magazine, but there's not many. But by the way, your video quality is setting at 720p.
Yes.
Dan, my buddy Mark, the one I was just talking about with the telescope. Yeah, wise guy. He says, I like your sheet. My green sheet. But yeah, so go check out Amateur Astrophotography Magazine. If you miss any of our videos, you can go to there or directly to our YouTube page. So that's the first one.
This is awesome. That's awesome news, man. Really.
That really is. I'm super excited. I think it just shows that there is some sort of need for what we're doing. And I really think it's gonna be really, really awesome. And the more people we get on, the more people that share their knowledge with the rest of the community, I think that's just awesome. And that's the first one. So the second one is
as soon as you're ready to pull up the other one, I'll switch back to your screen.
Yeah, you can switch back.
Right now, it's still your Gmail.
Oh, I gotta get off mine. I gotta do it for mine. My bad. What is it?
More news?
There's more. Well, there's only one more.
More.
There's actually a lot on with what we're doing here, but I'm only gonna let loose one because I don't want to go too crazy. But we're starting to do for those of you guys that remember that when we were doing this before, we would see if we get special guests on the show, and we're going to continue that type of format. So we had Adam Block on, we've had Ron Brescher on, we had TJ Conley on. I'm sorry, Ron Preacher. I did it again, Ron. I'm sorry. Ron Preacher. Who else did we have? We had Alan Mitchell on, showing us his observatory. We had a lot of cool people on. So we're going to start again next month on was it the 29th of August? I believe it's that Saturday, if I remember right.
Yep, August 29th.
Yeah, the 29th of August. And we're going to be having Tom Bramwell from Prima Luce Lab coming on and joining the show with us and talking about some of the new products that Prima Luce is going to come out with.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
So cool.
So we do have other people that are going to be on the show again. I already got August locked in, and we got August. I got
August
September and October.
Yep.
And October.
Yep.
I didn't tell you about October.
We'll fill you in on that later.
We don't even know that. Wait to tell us.
October. It's a name I dropped. It's a name I dropped once already with you guys, but I locked him in October. So So that being said, we're almost set up for New Year. So definitely keep an eye out on all of our stuff that we're going to be putting out there about future events and future guests. So that's it.
It's awesome.
So that being said, I think Eric's got something for us regarding gain and exposure time. He's probably going to hit on some of the same topics that I did, and but a lot of the stuff I don't know about because I'm interested to learn as well because I'm getting ready to start shooting with my QHY, and I don't know anything about gain or offset or anything like that because I have a CCD camera. So now I'm going to learn something too. So Eric, it's all yours.
All right, man. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so like I'm going to share, a few things that Dan has already touched on, some things he hasn't, and it's basically surrounded by the subject of imaging. We all want to know
Hey, Eric, can you put it in presentation mode?
Yeah, let me put it in presentation mode.
There we go.
There you go. What's the best way to do? What's the best time? There's all these questions that we all ask ourselves is, especially us amateurs and ones that are new to this and getting started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some things that I have learned, some things I've done to help, us amateurs, and this new guys out. So like Dan touched on, there's the sensors. We talked about those. And one thing I'll add as far as the sensors go is the shutters. I talked to Dan a little bit about this. One of the two differences is that with the CCD, they have what's called a global shutter, and Cmos has a rolling shutter. And what that basically just means is that the entire frame, is captured all at the same time. With the Cmos, the light is captured, one by, it rolls pixel it hits each pixel one after the other, and it's kind of this rolling thing from top to bottom in sequential order. So those are just a quick difference between the two. But what I'm going to touch on are a couple of things. I touched on briefly on pixel. I'm going to definitely touch on gain, full well depth, and quantum efficiency. So when you look at pixels and you look at these, you buy a DSLR, you buy all these cameras, it always talks about megapixel. Well, if you don't want to know what a megapixel is, it's basically a million pixels. And pixels are measured in microns, and there's different types of cameras, different types of bit levels. Some of the more common ones that we've seen here and that we use, especially with the CMOS cameras, like 12-bit, 24, 12-bit, 14, and 16. I believe like the 2600 is 16-bit camera. My camera that I use, I have a 533. That's a 14-bit camera. And I believe the 1600 is a 12-bit camera. And so what happens is those electrons, like Dan was telling you, those electrons are amplified into, and based off that ADC converter, that's what converts to volts and gives us our ADU. And I'll touch on ADU a little bit when it comes to the histograms. One thing that you want to consider, especially depending on the scope you have, okay, when it comes to pixel size and the type of camera you're going to buy, if you have a longer focal, telescope, a lot of, I have read that, so if you have like, say, a Schmidt-Cassegrain, or one of the longer focal length refractors. For a longer focal length telescope, consider getting a camera that has larger pixels because of larger pixels will capture more light. Okay. Now, so that's really good, especially if you're doing planetary, because with planetary, those are usually longer focal length telescopes, those Schmidt-Cassegrains, those Mac Cassegrains, those types. Now, when you're like me that does more deep sky imaging, I have a lot of smaller aperture telescopes. I have like my RASA 8 is a 400 millimeter. So for those short focal length optics, those benefit from cameras that have smaller pixels. So when you're thinking about buying a camera, you know, and you already have a telescope in mind, you know, think about the type of, you know, think about these things when you're buying that camera. Okay, gain. All right, now exactly, here's out. What is gain? Okay, so it's basically the settings that controls the amplification of the signal from the sensor. Remember we were talking about when Dan was touching on those photons hit the sensor and they start to get amplified. That's the gain. You know, the gain is what controls that amplification. Now with CCDs, gain is usually, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, is usually set by the manufacturer. And it really doesn't change much. Is that right? Right. So with gain, you know, but with a CMOS camera, that can be adjusted. So any of us that have ZWO cameras or the CMOS cameras like QHY, we can adjust our gain. We can adjust that amplification. Okay, and that amplifies the whole thing, the entire signal, and that also includes background noise. So keep that in consideration. And gain is very similar to what you would have if you you have your DSLR and you're setting your ISO. That's kind of the equivalent of what gain does, because you're increasing that amplification of that signal that you're getting from on that sensor. Okay. I'll skip a couple of these because we've touched on them already, and I don't want to bore us again. But you know, there's full well depth, and we've already talked about that, and how it's dependent on the pixel size. So keep that in mind. QE, we've already talked about that. You know, and how efficiency, you know, how it converts that light and, you know, that into the photons and, you know, to charge it. And that really depends also, you know, you take in consideration that those wavelengths that we talked about last week on the spectrum, you know. So you have the, you know, your light spectrum. So that takes in consideration. So one thing that I want to touch on that's really important when it comes to exposure time are your histograms. Histograms, in my opinion, are one of the biggest keys to tell you how well you are exposing. And I pulled this off of the same site I used last week, lonelyspec.com, as well as my own ASI Air Pro. Rely on that histogram. Do not clip. Don't clip. And what clipping is when you're underexposed, your image is too far off to the left. You're clipping those darks, the black side, because you on a histogram, you have at 0, that's the darkest area. And on the right side, that's the whites, that's your lightest area. Okay. So it's best to expose just maybe a third of your histogram, or a third to the right, a third from the left, rather, a third from the left on your histogram. Here it says, you know, exposing a little bit more to the left. If you're more in the middle, you know, they call that a neutral exposure, but then you get overexposed the further you go towards the right. Okay. So I've never personally, and I may have to try these, is to get more towards the neutral. And they say, and according to Lonely Spec here, exposing to the right is the best choice for the lowest noise. But you have to make sure you don't overexpose, because if you get over to the right too far, now you've overexposed your shot, and you have to just start all over again. So be aware. Trust that histogram if you're using a DSLR, if you're using a CCD or a CMOS, if it has the capability and you have, like, say, you're using SGP, ASI Air, Nina, they all show you, all the software that we use from nowadays for imaging, they all show you a histogram. So trust that histogram, because that is really one of the best tools that we have to determine how well our exposures are. Okay, so some things to consider when you're doing your exposures. Of course, consider what kind of camera you're using. you have to think about that as far as the type of camera, if it has the adjustable gain like a CMOS, the well depth, things like that, because you don't want to overexpose, you don't want to go into blooming. Another thing you have to consider, very importantly, is the filter. If you're doing broadband, you're probably going at a lower gain, or maybe even at a zero gain, to get more high dynamic range like Jason does. But sometimes, we see a lot of people when they're doing narrowband, they're going at a higher gain. And I've seen that happen, and I've seen that quite often. It's to help gather more signal, because you are filtering out so much light that this is just my opinion, so Jason, if you have thoughts on this, please feel free to jump in. But I would think it's probably because if you're gathering, because of those narrow bands, you're gathering more specific light, you have to, you're going to have to expose a little bit longer to get more signal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's pretty spot on.
Okay.
It's kind of a fine balance. You don't want to expose too long, because then you're going to oversaturate your lights. Not necessarily by overfilling your well depth, but you're just going to gain too much image. So, most of my stuff I do, I'm a Bortle 6 here. I shoot primarily at a 5-minute exposure, tracked on my Ioptron CEM40. I'd say 90% of what I shoot is all at, especially with, the red emissions nebula or basic emissions nebula. When you get into like Orion and things like that, then I have varied and kind of treat it like an HDR.
Yeah.
Looking to deal with the highlights and shadows a little bit differently, so that I'm compositing multiple shots.
All right.
Okay. Of course, considering that gain, amplifying that signal, if you want to go more, lower to get that more high dynamic range, maybe get a bit more contrast, or cranking up that gain, because if you're doing narrowband, so you can get better signal, you can amplify that signal rather. Your seeing conditions. Seeing is going to also dictate, how the atmosphere is, where you are, and what your target is, what you're pointing to. Those conditions are going to dictate, or give you, going to be a part of, how long or how short you're going to expose, as well as your sky brightness. Those Bortle 8, Bortle 9 skies versus a Bortle, 6, or even a Bortle 3 or 2, is going to determine probably how much longer or how much shorter you can go on your exposure time.
That's right. We didn't say it tonight, Jason. We hate you. It's gonna be like, oh my God, you killed Kenny.
Exactly.
It's going to be the new joke.
Yeah. So those are things you want to consider. Now, there's a tool that I was introduced to, and I have a couple videos that I actually did the other. Matter of fact, I think I did it Monday, of a tool, of a piece of software that I use. It's really inexpensive, and I think it is, for the price, it is probably one of the most effective pieces of software anybody can buy, because guess what? It is only $10 to buy for a year subscription. And what I'm talking about is SharpCat Pro.
That's 10 pounds.
10 pounds, $10. I bought a 5-year license for less than $50.
Yep. It's awesome.
And it's an awesome piece of software. It does so much for you. But one of the cool things it does, it helps you determine, because it has a tool called the Smart Histogram.
Yep.
That helps you determine your ideal exposure time. So I'm going to share a video here. And there's 2 steps to this. Let me bring up this video here. There's 2 things you're going to have to do. The first thing you're going to have to do and you get Shark Cap and you have your new camera is do what's called a sensor analysis. So if I go ahead and press play here, and no, doesn't want to. Let's try this again. Let me go back here and let's go to sensor analysis. Okay. So this is on my on my AP laptop that I really don't use anymore because I have the ASI Air, but I use this quite a bit for just this tool. And let me know if you guys are seeing this pretty well.
We got the setting up the show up there.
Yeah, we see it coming together.
Okay, cool. So what I have here is I'm starting, this is with my new 533. I've never done a sensor analysis on this, but I decided to do it the other day just mainly for us to do this chat here. So you're going to set your illumination. You want to have an even illumination. Now, real quick, what I've done is I took an LED, what I use my flats for, an LED panel, and to get even illumination because I was constantly, the brightness overexposing and it wouldn't work. I actually took a few pieces of copy paper, put it over the LED panel to help dim down.
Well, diffuse it a little bit.
Diffuse it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of guys recommend using like a white t-shirt.
Yep.
2 or 3 layers of t-shirt.
Yep. And I'm in white. And now you're seeing this blue. It's because I'm actually using the L Pro.
Okay.
With the L Pro filter, and it goes through and it measures. I'm gonna fast forward this because I don't want you guys to have to wait through 7 minutes of this. But it measures it measures each gain level. It goes through each gain level. It measures your darkness. It measures the ADU, the electrons per ADU, and it gives you a measurement graph. And you go through this. I'll fast forward here. So it goes through and it'll determine the gain. It goes through checking your gain ranges, things like that. And then it'll want you to then, after it does its initial run, its initial analysis, it'll want you to put the cap over your scope and do a dark measurement. So you go through a dark measurement. It'll do the same exact thing. It'll measure the black levels. And it'll measure out the read noise as well, especially like the dark read noise. And then you'll uncover the cap and it'll do another test. It'll go through and it'll start measuring with the different gains and at different exposure times. And what it does, once it's done, it gives you this information right here. It gives you information based off of your gain, the electrons per ADU, what your read noise is. It even tells you your full well capacity. And It gives you the range stops, the dynamic range stops, and relative gains. Okay. Now, for me right now, I'm focused probably on gain 0 and gain 100, which is unity.
Right.
And it tells me exactly the electrons. And it also lets me know my full well depth.
That's going to be a really good way to verify, too, what the manufacturer's saying is the actual capability of your cameras.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a really inexpensive way to verify that you're getting what you paid for.
Yep. And I've done this on every basically every camera that I've bought. I have done that. So if we take a look here, and I'll show you here. Every camera that I've ever owned, I've done a sensor analysis on it. So this way I even have a reference for cameras I don't even own anymore. So like here I have information on the 183, which was my very first cooled camera, dedicated Astro camera. And it gives me all the information here. Same thing with the 294, which I still have, the 533, the newest one, and the 1600. So if I ever decide to get these cameras again, If I probably will at some point be ready to go back to a mono camera. But this gives me some really good information to share with people, and so I kind of know what I'm talking about every once in a while, and I get seem smarter every once in a while.
Well, and
Every
a
once in a while.
good baseline for if you're using a similar camera for
Yep.
helping people out as they're dealing with different sensors, from different manufacturers. It should be fairly close.
Yeah. Now, this is the other part of that I want to show, which is the smart histogram. This is the piece that's really cool, and it's not that long because the longest part is the sensor analysis. But now you have the smart histogram, and you click on the brain, and it does a sky brightness measurement. And it starts to, and then you just set what you think your minimum exposure is, what you're going to think you're probably going to do for minimum exposure. So I set mine to 30 seconds. And I think I set it to 10. And just like that fast. For max dynamic range, which is 0, it gives me my optimal exposure. So it's at 36 seconds and the number of exposures, 16. And this is using the gain of 101. So basically it's unity gain.
What camera is that, Eric?
This is the 533.
533, okay.
Yep. And I actually moved it around a little bit. So I think I switched over to dynamic range. I set the reads noise, I messed around with read noise. I changed the stacking time to say, okay, what if I was going to stack, if I had a bunch of images I was stacking for like an hour, same exposure, no different.
So it says that you got a sky brightness of a 7.
That's
are
what
you
it
in
said.
are you in like a closet or something? What, you know?
I guess it was just a nice dark night.
I mean, a 7 is like literally you are in like the 9th level of hell or something where it's all dark. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because if that's running like a sky brightness thing, I mean, you know, dark is like 16.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what, you know, and I switched right now. I said, man, okay, what if I was going to do 2-minute exposures? It told me, okay, I have to do 30.
Okay.
But the things that I would take some of this information honestly with a grain of salt.
Okay.
I actually went ahead. Okay, this is where I said, okay, if I'm doing 5-minute exposures, 300 seconds, it told me I can do exposure to 12 at unity gain. Then I said, what if I'm doing max dynamic range? 0. Told me the same thing.
And that should be that way. Between 0 and the gain 100, you should not see an appreciable difference in the actual performance. All you're going to get is more dynamic range.
Right. Now, my only concern that I personally have is the measure of sky brightness, because this is really, really low.
Yeah.
And I've taken a dark meter outside, and I'm usually, I believe I was around 21.
Were you really?
Yeah. Last time I thought
you were at 21.
I was either at 20. No, I'm sorry. I'll put it back up. 19.
Oh, okay. I was like 21
19.
is like Cherry Springs.
Yeah. I was at 19.
Yeah.
So there you go. So this gives you an idea. Now, I actually took this information and I decided, you know what? I'm going to image just with this info. I did NGC 7023, the Iris Nebula. Now, I don't know if I'm not sure how well you guys can see this, but this is why I'm taking it a little bit with a grain of salt. It's not bad. This is 60 2-minute exposures.
Okay.
At a gain of 100 unity gain. And I did this just on the same day, the same evening that I did the sensor analysis and the smart histogram.
Okay.
Personally, maybe I'm just more critical about, my post-processing. I'm still learning, PI. So forgive me if this looks like crap to people. But, I think I could have done better. I probably could have done better if I exposed a little bit more to get more detail.
Yeah.
But for overall, this isn't. I would say it's not
nebula there.
that bad, huh?
You got some nice dark nebula there. You got
Yeah.
you got some nice dark lanes in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've done the iris, and that's not bad. But I think you're right. It probably could benefit from a little bit more exposure time.
Yeah, because if you take a look at the histogram transformation, you see how far
it is to the left.
Yeah, to the left.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking with something like this, and I believe when I was imaging this, the ADU was at about, I want to say, just over 3,000 was the average.
Okay.
With the average ADU. Now, one thing that we might want to consider, and I'm sure this is probably how it is. Jason, you might know this as well if you're using ASIR. Does it upscale to 16-bit?
I don't believe it upscales to 16-bit.
Okay, because the reason I ask that is if you go back to my presentation here, I'm looking at, if you take a look at the histogram, it said the max is 65,532. That's 16-bit.
Right.
But however, I'm using a 14-bit camera.
The software might be doing the conversion up to 16-bit because it's going to want to work natively in 8 or 16.
Right, and that's what the thing is, and so it's kind of hard. I'm not a mathematician. I hate math with a passion, but you know, these are certain things that, you know, I was talking to my wife, telling her, you know, when I was doing this, I said, you know what, I love this hobby, but I never thought I was going to use as much math as I am now.
Yeah.
But
I said the same thing all through high school.
Is that, you know, when you're looking at this, and if this is actually reading at 16-bit, is it more software up? You know, it's upscaling. The software is upscaling it to 16-bit. So I'm wondering how true this really is.
Yeah.
And as you can see, how far off. And this was actually, I took this. This was from Monday as well when I did the iris. So there you go. There's my average, 39. 39.58 with ADU. So I was pretty far off to the left.
Yeah.
You know, and this was a 2-minute exposure. So a lot of it has to deal, like I said, it deals with your camera, it deals with your sky brightness, the gain. There's a lot of factors. But I will say this gave, you know, using SharpCap, it does get you a decent picture. It
gets you in the ballpark.
It gets you in the ballpark. So
one of the things too in that last slide you had up, the image that you had taken from Lonely Speck is also a reference to DSLR. So they're looking at the histogram that should correlate very similarly, but just a quick disclaimer there that is based on a DSLR image. So it is dealing with the IR cut filters and things like that. So it's an inherent in DSLR.
Yep. And I use the L Pro on this, so it's basically it's not a, you know, so it's a good light pollution filter. And like I said, it wasn't bad for 2 minutes. That wasn't bad.
So you use the L Pro on the iris.
Yeah, I use the L Pro on the iris.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Now, why did you choose the L Pro versus the L Enhance?
Because I felt with the L Pro, I just thought with the L, and this is just my thought, the iris that I felt was a more broadband target.
It is.
And more of a dark nebula type of a target, where you're not getting you don't require as much, or it doesn't maybe kick out as much hydrogen. It may have quite a bit of hydrogen out there, but I felt with that dark of a target, that type of target there, I felt a broadband filter like the L Pro would have probably did a better job. Now, I will probably try. I could try going with an H alpha filter just to see,
I
and
don't
maybe
think-
doing like an HALRGB, but I don't think I would get any benefit out of it.
No, I think you'd see a better benefit from a quad band versus narrowing down.
Okay. Well, I've got that Altair Astro quad band, so I can always
That
try
might be
that.
a fun one to shoot with because I think it'll give you more detail, again, with
Mm-hmm.
adding more exposure time.
Yeah, I can add more exposure time. Absolutely. So, but no, I felt, that for what I would get for 2 minutes, that's not bad. But
No, that's
like I
pretty
said,
damn good, man.
yeah, but I would keep, but to keep these things, all in perspective. But like Jason was saying, it's a really good starting for, $10 a year to do that, and that software does so much more than just that. It can do, if you're using something like a laptop, and I mean, it does plate solving just like SGP and ASIR. It does polar alignment. I mean, for $10, I was like, geez, dude, that's a no-brainer.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
having- Go ahead.
go ahead, Jay.
Dan.
Go ahead, Jay.
Now, for me, because I didn't really look to those tools to get that, I was getting most of that type of data looking at the EXIF data that people would post about how they imaged on a lot of the different sites, both Facebook, Cloudy Nights, and even going into Reddit, which is where I got a lot of my stuff. Was looking at what people are imaging because most everybody posts pretty close to what's available in the sky right now. It was giving me a decent baseline to start with, and then I was making alterations from there.
Yeah. Another site that I would recommend for something like that, very similar to what we're talking about, is I also use AstroBin. If you go to AstroBin, it's basically a free site. You can go there free. You have to subscribe if you want to add your own photos to it. But to just go there and do some surfing, if you have an idea of some targets that you want to look at, it's a good place to go to find that target and see how other people are imaging with their particular gear. And maybe you might be able to find a similar setup to what you have. And that can give you a good idea. Now, like I said, sky conditions, sky brightness, all those things vary. And seeing varies, but it can get you in the ballpark of where you want to go as far as your exposure time.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the picture I had, but I can't seem to find it right now.
Sorry, guys, I keep muting my mic because I've got so many fans blowing air. It sounds like a jet turbine in here.
But, I like the idea of trying that quad band filter. I mean, I've got it. I don't use it that much, but I would be totally entertained. I've got it. I'll try it. And one of my favorite targets have always been dark nebula. And so to try to find the ideal filter and ideal exposure time, because those are some tough sons of guns to nail.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I've been shooting with L Pro with like the Orion Nebula because of all the different emissions. I think I would really benefit getting more detail out of that going to a quad.
Yeah. Nothing against OPT, but I got the tri-band, but man, that was some money. I can't go for a quad right now. Not for a grant. I'm sorry. I know it's probably well worth it, but for me, especially with me using a RASA, it wouldn't benefit me, especially using a RASA because it is such a narrow bandpass that I couldn't use with my RASA. So, but the L enhancer was great with my RASA. I'd like to know what the bandpass is. You've got the L Extreme. Do you know what off the top of your head, Jason, what the bandpass is?
I don't. I could pull it up real quick online.
That's fine.
But I know it's very narrow.
Okay.
Because we were kind of going over
It
that
is,
last week.
It pushes the O3 to the right a little bit and narrows it down to, I want to say 500 to, I forget.
It's very narrow.
It's extremely narrow.
So that wouldn't benefit. So that wouldn't benefit the RASA because you need at least between, say, 7 to 12 nanometers of bandpass.
Yeah, and that's where being the L enhanced or L Pro would benefit more.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
the L Extreme is really only going to shine in very specific nebula or where you have a lot of light pollution. Because
Yeah,
it's really
okay.
going to take out all that artificial light that we're dealing with that, every city generates.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it won't really benefit being out in dark sky sites and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Good call out. So yeah. So right now, I think I'm fine with the filters I got.
Yeah, well, you got plenty sitting around
I got
too.
plenty
So.
sitting around. You ain't getting there, man.
You got a reasonable price on a HA filter, 2-inch?
Hey, I just might.
No, because I think that's one of the things that I want to play with as it gets cooler here into the fall and winter. Dealing a little bit more with trying to do the false mono with the OSC and doing a HA for luminance and then dealing with extracting out the RGB.
Okay.
Or
I'll
doing
let you
it.
know. I'll let you know what I have in my filter in my filter drawer.
In your repertoire.
In your repertoire.
Yeah. Because I think I actually have maybe an Optilon 12 nanometer, and I have an astrometric. So I might.
George said the L Extreme has a 7 nanometer O3 and HA.
Okay.
7 nanometer. Okay, if that's the case, it might work with a Rasa, because at least from what Starzona was telling me, they said they were pushing. They said, yeah, you can actually use with their Hyperstar. They were saying you can use 7 nanometer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant band. When you said bandpass, I heard wavelength. I'm sorry. My bad.
No. Yeah.
That's why I said 500. I was like,
yeah. Nah, there you go. You're cool. But that it might be something to consider.
George said it says it works with f2 and slower focal lengths. So.
Okay. So slower focal length. So probably like the Rasa 11.
Oh, it works with f2, so you should be good.
Oh, but you said slower focal length, so I was
f2 and slower.
Oh, it's F2 and slower. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then sweet.
No, you should be fine.
I have another one to add to the collection.
Nice.
Well, and especially with the light pollution and stuff that you're dealing with there in the Midwest, much like what Dan's dealing with out there in the Eastern Seaboard.
Nothing that Jason is used to.
Yeah. Well, if I go over to Mark's, I am. Portal 8, whereas he calls it 12 and a half.
Look at your backdrop, man. Come on.
Yeah, but we keep moving, so it's really hard to image.
Yeah, he's imaging directly from the Hubble.
Nice.
But no,
Nobody move.
I'm at the same border level that you are.
Yeah.
And I'm at about 5 because I'm in the suburbs.
Okay.
I'm in the rural suburbs where we got farms and everything.
Oh yeah, I got to travel an hour east to see a farm. And even then, you got only 2 horses. It's not even considered a farm.
It's not considered a farm.
It's got 2 horses and a shrub.
I joke. One of my friends up in Utah, he had foreign exchange students, and one of the girls that came over from the Netherlands kept arguing with us. My dad doesn't have a farm. He doesn't have a farm. It's a garden. It's like almost 100 acres. Like, no, that's a farm.
It's a garden.
I'm sorry.
If you make enough produce that you have to take it to market, it's a farm.
It's a farm. This is 100 acres. That's no farm. That's a future subdivision.
Yeah. Well, here we call that a strip mall.
Yeah,
There you go.
Exactly. But no, so hopefully everybody, that stuff, that Dan and I share with you guys and Jason's expertise, hopefully it's helps you guys out, and especially the new guys that are out there, because that's more of my focus, is to try to help us new guys out, because I'm right there, man.
We actually had a couple of new people out there. Renee Hounsel, who's somebody that I know.
Okay.
So we got some new people out there, and my buddy Mark is out there. So we got some people that are just starting in the hobby. So, again, just don't get frustrated, man. It's all about educating and learning and trial and error. And no matter what we say on the show,
It's
it
all
may
up
or
for
may
debate.
not help your rig. So every rig is different.
Start small. All I will say is this: if you're really interested in this stuff, start small. Just grab your DSLR and get a nice lens. Even use your stock 55, and just start learning how to do some of the basic stacking, basic processing, like with Milky Way and stuff like that. Don't spend a huge amount of money just yet. Wait until you've got a feel for it. You really want to go deeper. Then go for it. And then
one of the things,
make a big decision if you want to go deep space, if you want to go deep sky, you want to go planetary, because that's going to dictate the type of equipment you're going to buy.
Yeah, well, the only thing that I would on top of that is, no matter what, get like a mid-range mount, get like a 40-pound capable mount.
40, yeah.
So somewhere the AVX is a bare minimum. Other than that, once you get above, 30, 35, 40, and I think the EQ6R, I think, is the high end at 44 before you start getting into crazy, 50, 55, 75, 100, you get crazy. But get yourself a decent mount that you're not going to grow out of if you plan on being in this hobby for more than, the summer.
I'm a
What's that?
Trust me. You guys will probably see one of my videos coming out soon once I get everything processed and finished. My very first mount, it was the AVX. And
there you go.
And I honestly, it's a 30-pound payload. I still have it. I use it as my travel mount, and I still get some really good images off of it. I outgrew it. And then I went to the CGX, but I wanted a little bit more than the CGX could offer me, especially when it comes to guiding and tracking. So I've actually sold that CGX, and I moved on and I'm waiting for a CEM60 to come in, because I think that'll give me a bit more of what I'm looking for. Nothing against Celestron, because like I said, I love Celestron's gear, but I just needed a little bit more. That's all.
Yeah, Mark just gave you up on the AVX.
Well, I laughed because he sold me the AVX, and then I just got rid of it about almost a year ago. So.
Yeah, you pawned it off on poor Jason.
Yeah.
I mean,
I needed something. Well, because before that, I was doing the Skyguider Pro, which was fine, but it was very limiting. And being that I didn't have a ton of experience, the go-to makes it really easy for learning where things are.
Yes.
You can use the app and you can kind of triangulate and figure out roughly where you're looking. But when you're trying to use the Skyguider Pro and you're having to optically find where to point your camera, it gets really tough.
Yeah, it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people that come up to me and say, they're trying to hook up the ASI Air to the Skyguider Pro, and it's a disaster, man.
Well, and it'll work.
It'll work, but
it's
it takes
so
a lot.
limited.
Yeah. I mean, to actually sit there and you can't plate solve, you can't do anything. I mean, it's really tough. You're better off just spending the extra $300 to get an AVX.
Yep.
Yeah, because an AVX is just around $800.
I think if you get a full blown, with the entire package with the Skyguider Pro, I think it's a little over $500. So,
what's the Skywatcher 35?
The Star Adventure?
Yeah. The competitor to the AVX.
Oh, the EQM 35.
M235.
No. The EQM 35 is only 20 pounds. So, I don't know why it says...
price point wise, you're at that $900 price point.
No, the EQM 35 is like $700 or $600.
Okay.
If I remember right. But the AVX is not a bad mount. I've used it. I've had it. And to Eric's point and to Jason's point, I mean, it's a good mount to start off with, and it's under $1,000.
Yep.
So, but if you decide to get something a little bit more heavier and start adding accessories like cameras and guiders and stuff like that, all of a sudden you're at 23, 24 pounds, and you're almost at the limit of the mount.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be anywhere near 30 pounds if you're guiding. If you're visually doing something, it's fine, but you don't want to be anywhere. You want to be at the 15 to 20 pound range at the most.
Well, and a lot of the AVX users are finding that even at 60% payload, they're
Okay.
really having to send it out, spend a couple $100, and have somebody hypertune it.
Yeah, well, and then now you're talking about a $1,200 mount. You should have just gotten an
little bit better
Atlas or
mount.
something.
Yep.
And then trust me, and I spent when I bought I bought it, bought it at it was like when I bought mine was at 800, so I got one of the older models. Now it's like 900, but when I first got it, it was 800. It wasn't doing everything I hoped it to do, and I didn't want to spend the money yet on like the CGX or anything like that. So I sent it off to Deep Space Products and got it hypertuned. Spent another $400.
Yep.
Well, and I was at that point with mine, and I said, because I was using the ASI Air exclusively with it, there was some other things that were troublesome for me, and it worked. It did a good job. It just didn't do it at 100%. And it was more work for me, so I decided I'm just going to get rid of it. It served me well. It was a good training piece, and then I moved up into the CGM 60 or CM 60,
the
40.
Yeah.
I want the 60 or 70.
You should get the 70.
I want it. It's just going to be a while.
God, this is like who's got the biggest toy? Is that what this is going to be? Some sort of contest. Dude, that's it. I'm just gonna go get a Paramount. Screw it.
There you go. No, the big thing right now is I've got a lot of things going on personally that aren't going to allow a whole lot of expansion for a while. So
yeah, I hear you.
No,
I'm just happy I got the thing finally on a pier. I could actually start doing some work again, and because I haven't had any imaging time at all. I've been taking my rig apart, putting it together, trying to do this damn William Optic manual rotator. Jeez.
Speaking of Pierce, though, let's get back to Pierce. Did you? Because I'm gonna get a Pierce. Did you fill yours up with sand? Did you fill yours up with sand?
I filled up partly.
Filled with sand. Okay, to deal with the vibration.
Partly. Yeah, okay. Partly. A lot of it was concrete around with a sonotube.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the picture of the Mexican guy that I had that I almost pulled in the put in the hole.
You almost dropped him in the hole.
But
I think you showed that last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I did, right? Yeah. So they belled out the bottom. They filled it up. They filled it with concrete, a little bit of sand, a little bit more concrete, a little bit of sand, and then started. Got it up to the top, and then made the mold for the square, more concrete, J bolts, and that's it.
Okay, but did you actually? But the pier itself, did you put sand in the pier?
No. I couldn't. There's no way to get in there.
Oh, okay.
The particular one he's got is sealed.
Yeah, it's all sealed. So unfortunately, there was no way to get. Actually, there is a way to get in there, but it's through the electrical panel in the front.
Okay.
That's not connected. It's not. It does have an electrical plug there. But it's not. I didn't connect it because I didn't want to run electric. But it's solid, man. I mean, it's solid. I could stand on that block and jump up and down, and no vibrations.
No vibration.
No.
That's one of the things I'm going to be concerned about is, because I'll probably do some of this stuff DIY or whatever to save some money. But, I've just got to figure it out, because I wasn't even thinking about getting a concrete contractor to come in and all that stuff. But for a hole and then to have them come and dump concrete.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I'm a mechanical engineering idiot, so I got to sit there and I wanted it pointing in a certain direction. I wanted the square to be this way, So I was saying, listen, I'll just pay YouTube to do it. You guys just do it. I can't.
But you also have a nice block that it's sitting on top of.
Yeah.
Nice concrete that is sitting on top of. You got that nice square block. So.
Yeah, it took me a little bit of research, and actually, Stacy Downton, or AstroStace, as a lot of people know her from YouTube, she pointed me a lot in the right direction. And my other buddy, Mike Siniscalchi, who's got a couple of A-pods himself, from Long Island, he lives right down the block from me. Actually, not really down the block, but it's down the block for Long Island. But he actually helped me out a lot, and he actually pointed me in the right direction as well, as long as some information from Jeff at Camera Concepts and stuff like that.
Sure.
But but for the most part, I did nothing. I just told them which way I wanted it pointed, and I just watched them to make sure that they built it right. They put the rebar in. I forgot they put rebar in the sonotube. So it's I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to be fine.
That's the only thing I was thinking about. If I get a concrete contractor to come in, because they know what they're doing, they know about concrete, they know about rebar, and they know how to dig those holes, and they probably know how to fan it out enough, down at the bottom and things like that. So I'm still considering, because we have construction in our subdivision still going on, and there's a concrete company that does it. So I was going to give them a call and have them just swing by and give me a quote. And
just also make sure you find out where your frost line is up there, because I'm not sure where your frost line is in the Chicago area.
Yeah, it's probably at about between 32 to 36 inches.
Your frost line is 36 inches?
I'm betting. Yeah, I'm close to Wisconsin.
Oh man, you got to go down like 4.5, maybe 5 feet.
Really, there?
Dude, you got to beat that frost line.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You just want to make sure what it is, because Long Island, it's only about 17 inches.
No.
So
for us, it's much deeper. For us,
wow. So yeah, you're gonna need somebody to dig that hole for you, I think, man.
Hi, puppy.
Mine's at 0, so we don't have a frost line.
You know what?
Oh, dude, shut up, Jason.
But
just saying.
You guys got what, like staining?
I ain't got no frost line, but you know what? All my computer boards fry up every time I bring it outside because it's too damn hot.
Oh my god.
Oh man, I got 4 fans going just to keep the thing going right now. I'm monitoring my CPU and GPU temperatures just to make sure it's holding steady in here.
Jeez.
Doggy wants attention.
Yeah, he does. He always wants attention.
Let's see. Dan said, you could take out the electrical outlet and use spray insulation foam. But even without that, the pier is rock solid. That's Dan. That's the guy who actually gave me the pier.
Okay.
Mark said, Reina, my EQ6 was great with my Esprit 100, but I've upgraded to the 120 and the Moonlight Night. Yes, Mark, I know you got the Nightcrawler. I know this thing. He's got a monster of a setup. This guy. Is this guy going to show us? Is he ever going to show us a picture?
I'm sure he'll show us the picture. If not, he'll give it to me and I'll do it.
Just one picture. Just one.
It's a beast. Well, since he got the EQ8R, he really hasn't done much imaging because he's trying to get everything together with the QHY and the 6200 and his filter saga. So
yeah, that kind of threw a wrench into everything.
He's not really been able to image yet.
You ruined it, Jason. I promised him I wasn't going to say anything about that.
Well, you did, and I did.
It's been 4 weeks. I said something 4 weeks straight, and I promised to go to
Chroma filter.
I told Jason. I didn't tell you, Eric and Mark. I'm sorry. This is all Jason's fault. You can yell at him. So
he does.
I sent Mark a picture the other day, and it just happened that OPT is selling Chromas at 15% off. So I sent him the picture of that of the matter. I thought he was going to start walking to Long Island to come shoot me at that point. So,
he wouldn't do that. He'll phone a friend.
I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Rini is actually on Long Island. I didn't know you were in Shirley. Shirley's only about 40 minutes away from my house, so
okay.
That Shirley's nice. Shirley's like Bortle, I want to say 5.
Oh, so she's around where I'm.
See, now we can start blaming her.
Yeah, it's about 5, but there's unless you have a house out there, there's really no place to image.
Okay.
Well, she
you got to go. She's got a house out there. I mean, my friend Charlie lives out in Shirley, and we used to go right out there. And that was about a Bortle 5. I want to say it was about an SQM of, I think, 19.9. For Long Island, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, I have my trusty SQM here.
Yeah, I have to get one of those just to see what it is here.
So just so you know, I am sitting at a 5.9. So, which means I'm way past. I'm like in daylight.
Well, that's
but
about the temperature you should be at.
Yeah, the higher the number, the darker it is. But you just point this at the sky, and it judges your sky quality. So that's pretty good. I love this thing.
Yeah. Which one do you have there, Dan? I'm sorry.
This is the Unihedron
Okay.
sky quality meter.
Okay.
I want to say it's $150 or something like that.
If you got an iPhone, this does pretty good. Dark Sky Meter app.
Yep, and it's free.
Dark Sky Meter app, and it's pretty cool. It you just simply cover the camera with your finger, and you take your first dart. You see the dark, and then you just point it up straight up, and it measures the sky. And from what I can tell, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, come here, boy. My dog is here.
It's pretty darn accurate.
Hello,
Oh, hello.
what's up, boy?
My dog can eat your dog.
Right, Pep? Pep doesn't like this. He doesn't like being like. I had him on the knee videos, and he was a big hit, but I mean, he doesn't like it.
No.
He just wants to lay down.
My cat has eat both your dogs and kick their ass.
My wife cracks up every time she watches these freaking cat videos. She kills me. There was this one guy, this cat, Sylvester. I think the guy, he was on Facebook, but I think he passed away. He had this cat, he named him Sylvester, did all these crazy cat antics. It's just like, leave it to a cat owner to put their cat on Facebook and start getting famous.
Oh, look at Grumpy Cat.
Yeah.
I got a second dog floating around somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, so Dan, I just want to say that your comment got flagged, Dan. Apparently was I sent it through, but it said $150 for the sky meter. I just suck my finger and stick it out the window. so that got flagged, but I sent it through. So. So Tarek said every astronomer should have a dog or two now. And Mark said my cats can eat his dog.
Trevor's got Rudy. Stacy's got Luna.
And I got Luna, Astra, and Pepper.
There you go.
Actually, no, Stacy got Luna. I got Astra. She got Pepper.
Yeah, I've got Titan and Celia over here. You know.
There you go.
Running amok.
Now, if Pepper wasn't Pepper,
Mm-hmm.
We didn't give him the name Pepper. We gave Astra the name Astra because of obvious reasons. And Pepper, I probably would have named something like Eros, something dark, something dark. You know, so like some sort of random asteroid.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Now, so let's see. I've been on a shopping spree, so I think I told you guys I ordered that Spica fly.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know why it's taking so long. The company's only in Wisconsin. I ordered it on Sunday. It should have been here on Tuesday.
I will beat that in a second. I'm going to one-up you on this one.
Okay.
I ordered, so I was on the search for an off-axis guide forever from ZWO. Yeah. Nobody had it, and I ordered it from Stellarview. I was like, dude, you got it? You got one? He's like, yeah, I got one. I'm looking right at it. Said, hold on. Do not sell it. I'm going on the website. I'm buying it now. That was on July 10th. Okay? Now, for those of you guys know, Stellarview is in California. Fine. So it took 12 days to get to Chicago. I was going to call you, Eric, to go get it because it was sitting in Chicago for 3 days. And now, at this point right now, 19 days later, it finally just made it to Pittsburgh. I still haven't gotten it yet.
COVID, man. All I can say.
That's becoming the generic excuse for everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Not just shipping.
That's COVID.
It's COVID. Sorry.
Dude, the grass ain't growing. It's COVID.
It's
COVID.
And this is incredible because this thing is in Wisconsin. I could drive to where this place is.
Yeah, that's a lot closer. That's one and a half states over. You just got to go around the.
I just got to go more. Actually, shoot, Madison, Wisconsin's an hour away from me.
Oh wow!
Over north.
Yeah, that's right.
I was gonna say, the thing you're not taking into account, Eric, is they had to get it shipped in from China. QC it. The first batch didn't take, so they've got to ship another batch over. That's why it's taken a month.
And it's probably they're probably including some free flower seeds in it too.
No! Did you see about those seeds from China that are floating all over? Oh my God! It's like all over TV and loud. If you get them, don't. We don't know what's in the seeds.
Yeah.
They're gonna start spewing Corona.
Oh my God! I can't.
The pollen is actually powdered coronavirus.
No. That's the new rice
conspiracy
stuff.
thing.
Yeah, there you go.
That's like anthrax from the early 2000s.
Gosh, you know what? Who cares?
Back to the comments. Tarek said, "Dan, believe it or not, I still think that a mono with narrowband rules and win, no doubt. I couldn't agree with you more. Coming from the light pollution capital of the world,
You know what? I'm not going to argue with that. I know honestly how sensitive a mono is.
A mono, yeah.
I just don't have time.
I know. Me and Jason were talking about before. And I don't want to say it's laziness. It's not laziness. It's being more. I'll call it being more efficient with your time.
Time. Thank you.
A time management thing.
I only have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of dark sky. I'm going to take up as much of it as I can and get as much data as I can.
Yeah. So I'm like this close.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't pull. I can't. In my heart,
Just
I can't
do it.
I can't.
Stop dragging it out.
I could sell my S-Big mono with all the filters in the filter wheel, probably for about $3,000.
Yeah.
All put together.
You know
and
what?
Then you could go get the 2600 or 6200.
I know.
I was even contemplating at one point, if it wasn't for me being just, for me personally, I'm an ASIR nut. I mean, that's just, I love the ASIR. But if it was more universal, that you can use other things with
Cameras.
Cameras. I was on the fence of getting one of those QHY8s.
Yeah. Yep.
QHY8Ls, one of those QHY10s.
Yep.
They're CCD.
Great cameras.
They're CCD, but they're color cameras.
Yep.
That's thinking about it. But,
yeah. I mean, and that works with the Eagle, so.
Yeah.
You're already there.
Yeah.
I'm halfway. I don't know. It's kind of like that thing. Like I'm a Star Wars, Star Trek collector.
Mm-hmm.
So I have dolls from the 1970s. I have a Spock doll in the package and a Klingon doll from 1973, and I could sell them probably for a couple $100. But I've had them for 15, 20 years. It's like you don't want to get rid of them.
No. Now they've just become part of you. So no, I'm not getting rid
of them. Well, sooner or later I'll sell the whole thing and all my TV guides and Star Wars and Star Trek stuff, and hopefully I'll get 10 or 15 grand. A friend of mine my cousin sold all his stuff. He got about 2 months of mortgage payments. Nice. He sold this original Slave 1 and Cloud.
Cloud City. The
Cloud City setup he had. All still in the box. He had all the boxes. He had everything.
Still has everything in the box.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He made 2 months of house payments, but he probably spent 6 to get it all.
No, you got to think about it. He bought all that stuff in 1983.
Yeah, true.
So that stuff now, maybe it's $60, $70. Back then, it was only $15, $20.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tarek was. Eddie offered to pick up my ZWO off-axis guider in Pittsburgh. My buddy Eddie out there. I first started talking to Eddie when he was a customer at Camera Concepts, and he was purchasing a Takahashi, a TOA 130 and a NJP mount. He went nuts.
Okay.
We kept for 3 years now. I think we've been talking, and we keep on saying we're going to meet at a star party, and every star party's been clouded out since
Since you said it.
Since we said it, and now coronavirus is here. So Eddie, I don't know. I think we're SOL on this. We may have to do a Zoom meeting or something.
You guys, is it Cherry Springs?
Cherry Springs, yeah, right. It's well, okay. So imagine Pittsburgh and Philly.
Yep.
You go basically, it's literally right in the middle of those two cities and a little north.
Okay.
That's it. So
Okay.
so it's about a 6-hour drive from Long Island. So that means it's probably about a 6-hour drive from Chicago, because it's a 12-hour drive from Long Island to Chicago.
Because actually, when I was looking to get the CEM 60, I was planning on actually going out and picking it up. And this guy, he is in Jersey, in South Jersey.
Yeah.
And it was about a 12-hour drive
To South Jersey.
Yeah, to South Jersey from my house is a 12-hour drive.
Yeah, but if you go to Cherry Springs, you're going directly east instead of going south.
Okay.
So there's no south. It's literally a west-east ride for you.
Gotcha.
So you're not doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. Mark said, Dan, UPS. I had stuff sitting here in Phoenix for 4 days. No, believe it or not, it's USPS. It's being sent.
Yeah.
So it's being sent priority mail. So not very priority.
No, it's not. It's not. When I sent off my when I sold my 1600, I sent it off to a guy, and I hope he's enjoying it in Massachusetts. Said it was going to be there. I gave it to them on a Monday or Tuesday. They said it was going to be there that Thursday. It didn't show up for another 10 days, and that was priority.
No, my wife is selling fabric face masks, and we do
Yeah.
most all of her shipping through first class mail, USPS. And we've had, out of almost 600 packages, we've only had 3 or 4 that have been a real issue.
Okay.
But paying for priority first class service, guaranteed 1 to 2 day. It took a week for one of the
Wow.
packages, and the client was pissed, and they're trying to hit her for it, and it's like, we got it to the post office. We can't do more than
Right.
just getting it to them. So
Yeah, George is actually confirming what I was saying to you before, Jason, about the USPS. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bring politics into it, but
yeah, there's politics involved.
yeah. So it's this new postmaster is changing up some things the way they do it in the USPS, and my dad was a postal worker for well over 30 years, and if he was alive today, he'd be going postal right now.
My grandfather did, I think, 32 years.
Yeah.
With the postal service as a delivery carrier.
Yep, my dad too. My dad was in Long Island City from, I guess, 1971 to about 2001, 2002.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, Grandpa touted the fact that he was retired longer than he was working. But he
What happened?
he
Wow.
retired because he had started there pretty quick out of high school.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then was able to be retired longer than he worked there.
Yeah.
But he was very quick to point out that he went to work for Grandma, which was not necessarily a gain.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Now,
Yeah,
do you have a 533 or the 2600?
I have both.
You have both.
Yeah.
Which, going back to our topic here of image time.
Yeah.
What do you use as far as your process to try to figure out your best image time using the ASIR?
Kind of gamble. My general thumb is I usually start at 300 seconds, and I see kind of where I'm at. Most of my imaging nights, I'm doing 60 to 70 images on a single target.
Okay.
At 300 seconds.
At 300 seconds. Okay.
The only time I've changed that up, and that was with the 533, was on Orion and Horseheads, doing an HDR type treatment. And that was
So
kind
you
of
were-
a guess and check over 6 or 8 different imaging sequences.
Was that at zero gain or at Unity?
I was shooting at 100 on those because I didn't quite understand the dynamic range gains.
Okay.
After I got into it more and talked with TJ Conley, I started shooting everything at 0 gain. I don't really deviate from that anymore. Now I just changed my exposure time, but I've not shot anything over the 300 seconds.
You haven't shot anything over 300 seconds.
Correct. I've done a test where I've been able to track for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but I haven't imaged for single exposures at that.
Okay. Because I have tried 600. I haven't, and I think, I foobarred my flats, so that was my thing that, I had to. I did something to the focus right off, grabbing the freaking thing.
And that's one of the things. I didn't really do calibration frames when I started.
Okay.
And I quickly learned that was a mistake and got much better at least taking my darks and dark flats. But I didn't do a whole lot with flats until Mark upgraded and I got his Pegasus Astro flat master.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you had that. Let me ask you a question about that. I've heard some things. I was going to get one of those, and I saw some reports on cloudy nights saying that there's kind of a bluish hue to it at times.
A little bit.
Is it now? Does that affect your flats at all? Because
Nope.
No.
I haven't noticed. I mean, I don't have a great benchmark because it's all I've ever used. I tried using an iPad with 3 layers of t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's just not consistent enough. So I was getting hot spots.
Yeah, sure.
I thought about doing the light sketch pad off of Amazon for $30.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys that are doing it successfully. Mark upgraded it and offered me a deal on his. It worked perfect for the scope size that I was using.
Right.
So, I was going to pull the trigger on that or a flat A, like what you got.
Yeah.
Or the Spike A. I wanted to go that route. I just didn't really need it. It fits both of my scopes, or all 3 of my scopes now, perfectly.
Yeah, because it's only a 4-inch diameter.
Almost 5.
Almost 5? Okay.
Yep.
See, that's out in I know Pegasus Astro, they're bringing out a larger diameter.
I think they're going to go up to 8-inch.
Yeah, but that's not going to help me because even with my Rasa 8, and I'm using a dew shield.
Yeah.
To put on top of it, it's not going to help me. So that's why I went with the Spica.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give me, I think it's a 12-inch square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to do 12 or a 16?
Yeah, and I got the basic one, so I don't plan on going on any of my scopes. Even if I buy a new scope in the future, I don't plan on going any bigger than probably 12 on any of my future scopes. So
you say that
me,
now.
Yeah, I know, right? Actually, you'll see me with this 16-inch RC.
Yeah, right. You get aperture fever all of a sudden.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, and one of the things that's been a little steeper learning curve than I expected, talking with Simon, trying to figure out where the AEDU needed to be, it surprised me that with no filter, I could do a 7 to 8 second exposure to get at the 2500 or 25,000 ADU. But as soon as I put a filter in, I was up to 80 seconds. And it was amazing how much more I had to expose to get my flats.
Yep.
And that really threw me because I expected maybe 7 to 12 or somewhere in there, but to almost 10x my exposure times to do my flats.
Yeah,
really threw me for a loop.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Ellen Hansen knows.
Well, and that's most what I shoot, especially right now, because everything's you're doing North American, Pelican, everything's all those red hydrogen emission
Yep.
nebulas.
Yep.
That's all you've got. So you're dealing with the L enhanced in order to get the cut and be able to get the saturations in those wavelengths.
Well, and I'm just waiting for my CEM 60 because unfortunately I can't use my so not with the AVX. Even though it kills me, they can sell the RASA with an AVX because if you go to Celestron's website,
I see it. It drives me nuts.
have it, and it's insane because guess
It
what?
is insane.
That thing, I weigh out everything I've got exactly because I weighed out my RASA because I've got my the filter, I've got my guide scope on there and everything else. And I'm weighing out at about 25 pounds.
Yep.
Maybe 26 pounds with all
That's
of my
crazy.
my gear on there, and to try to put that on
On an AVX,
forget about it.
you're not going to be tracking anything.
Nothing. Not a thing. So yeah, I've got to wait for. So right now, I'm relegated to using my my GT71, the one that started it all. my very first scope with the GT71, and that's what I'm using now.
Hey,
Well,
there
and
you
that's
go.
part of really drove my scope choice. Was I went from the Space Cat up to the ED102, which
Yep.
put me out to 714 millimeter, and then I backed off and went to the Sharpstar ASCAR 400.
Yep.
And running that with a reducer, so it's a 280, which is just a little bit longer than the Space Cat.
Right.
Yep.
So not
What's-
drastic, but the imaging quality was a major jump.
What's your f stop on that?
With the reducer, it's at 3.9.
3.9. Okay.
Yeah, without
So
it's
still-
5.6.
Yeah, it's still plenty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculously fast.
Yeah, because I know with the GT, the 71, I'm at F5.9 at 420.
Yep.
With the reducer, I'm at F4.7 at 336. And it's still, I love it, but it's but I don't want my CEM so I can get my RASA back. I want to get that RASA back up on there.
Well,
And
I
I'm
mean, we've been
exclu-
clouded over for a month, so it finally cleared yesterday. But I was so tired from I went out and hung out with a friend of mine. Tried doing some fishing. Didn't catch anything, and then I
Yeah.
had a video shoot last night. So by the time I got home, I was too tired to try going setting all the gear up, and it was 112.
Oh,
So I said, I'm just gonna go to bed.
last week we had some really good nights, and then we had our last, Monday was a good night. But now, I think we got true clouds now.
Yeah.
Clouds made it. They made it to the Midwest, and we got your clouds. So I'm not going to be doing anything for at least a week. So
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I'll go out and play around for a little bit, depending on because it's supposed to get up to 116 by Saturday. So.
oh my God.
yeah.
I'm supposed.
So
Hopefully Saturday.
How do you like living on Mercury? Because God.
This is a difficult time of year for me because I'm usually traveling. So, as we're heading into the first week of August here, I'm normally in Iowa doing the Iowa State Fair.
Okay.
So, I drop down to what you guys are used to, 80s to 90s, lows in the 60s, 70s at night, 30 to 80% humidity. So, I'm not here, and I'm gone that's an 18-day run for me. So, and with the nature of my job, I'm typically traveling 200 days a year. So, I'm not hardly home during this peak. And then I'll come home for like a week, maybe 2 weeks in August, and then September through December is pretty solid. I'll usually go right up to about Thanksgiving, and then I call it quits for the year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this year I went gangbusters until March, and now I'm...
Yep. I hear you, man.
But it's an adjustment. But I love living here, because when you guys are freezing your nuts off in December, I'm calling you from 70 degrees and shorts.
and then we still hate you.
And we still,
You know, there's a consistent thread.
you're still getting the long dark skies when it comes winter. You're still getting the long skies, but you're not getting the freezing.
Well, but the nice thing is year round we get about a 30 to 35 degree temperature swing day to night.
Yeah.
Which makes it difficult to image because your temperature swings, especially that drastic, really change the way the scopes behave.
Yep, sure.
So the dew heaters and things like that, not necessarily for the dew, but just trying to keep the tube somewhat constant, makes a world of difference.
Sorry about the yawn.
That's all good.
But I tell you though, that's probably when those autofocusers come into play big time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait because that's one of the things that I've been struggling so much with is being able to get consistent focus.
Yeah,
Like,
when you
get a
got
decent-
that temperature controlled focuser.
Yeah. Well,
It'd be good.
I have the EAF and they're working on it. We're still waiting for the beta hit for those of us in the
Right.
beta group. You know, they keep telling us next week. It's 4 weeks now. Still next week.
Yeah.
It's coming. They're working on it. They want to really have something a lot closer to show ready before we.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Oh yeah, it will. They're working really hard on it because it's the major piece that they're missing.
Yep. I tell you, everything that I have seen from the very beginning since last year when they first came out with this thing, they came out with the ASIR, every improvement they've made has been a
Leaps and
game
bounds.
changer. It has absolutely been fantastic.
You want to know another game changer? I'll give you another game. It has nothing to do with astronomy, by the way.
What's up?
So, I don't know if you know this, but they're coming out with a new Star Wars series.
I heard about this.
Yeah, it's going to be based on after Rise of Skywalker, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And Kathleen Kennedy was supposed to head it. So for those of you guys who don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is,
Eric's about ready to commit suicide.
so you guys don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is. She is the head of all things Star Wars, and everything that you've hated over the past 10 years about Star Wars, she was in charge of.
She was in charge. The only good thing she gave us was freaking Rogue One. That was it.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. One good doesn't make up for the rest of them. However, the good news is they just fired her from having anything to do with that TV show. So
maybe they also did it to her so she doesn't screw up the Mandalorian.
So I'm thinking, because there's been a lot of rumors about firing her totally from Star Wars. I think this is the first step, and I think sooner or later, I think by the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year, I think as far as Star Wars is concerned, she will be ixnayed. So.
Oh God, no! She just needs to leave Lucasfilm altogether.
Yeah, she needs to. Yeah, she's resting on her laurels from ET.
You know what? Find a nice spot over at Pixar. I don't watch that crap.
Yeah, just go
throw her in my arena.
Go to Amblin Entertainment, which nobody does anything over there anymore.
Deal with Toy Story and that shit.
Yeah. Go hang out with Tom Hanks and coronavirus.
No kidding. Don't mess with her. Good God, man. I don't know. That woman.
Let's see. Let's see. Dan need to constantly refocus with temperature swings. Mark, Rogue One was good. Mark, bring George Lucas into it.
Oh God, no.
George Lucas. Don't even start me with George Lucas.
No. I mean, God love him. He's the one who brought it to us. But I think his vision has passed. He's fulfilled his vision. I need to see more.
Yeah.
Now, I personally would love to have seen it be more of like the expanded universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if a lot of you guys remember the expanded universe because it's not considered canon.
I love it.
But I loved it.
Yep.
The John Vong, the new Jedi Order. All of that stuff, having Jason and Jaina, Darth Kaitis.
Yeah.
I love it.
I read all the books. I read them. I've read them all.
So when you actually had Ben Skywalker, being Luke's son, and you had Mara Jade and all of those. I love
Mara Jade was the best.
Yeah, she was the Emperor's hand. She kicked everybody's butt.
Everybody killed me.
She damn near killed Luke.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you marry somebody. Oh, is that a spoiler alert?
There were books.
There were books.
That's what Kathleen Kennedy said. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
She said her exact quote was, "There's no backstories or stuff to pull ideas from."
And that's one of the things that really ticked me off.
Are you freaking for real?
You got all this. You got all of this. Mark Summers. You had Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
You had
Michael J. Anderson.
Michael J. Anderson. You had all these great authors creating this great content. And now you're saying there's nothing to draw from.
Yeah, you had all the. Now I'm maybe dating myself, but you had all the Brian Daly stuff too.
Yes.
So I mean, forget about it. You can even go into the damn comic books.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
The comic books. For God's sake. There was so much material you could draw from.
Yep. Hopefully they fire her from everything. So that's all I gotta say about that.
That's all. Yeah. So I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
Mark Ellis says, "I love the books, and when they came out with the new movies, it pissed me off."
Thank you.
Why didn't that get flagged? But they took all the books in a blender and used what came out. I gotta disagree with you a little bit on that, Mark. They didn't use a lot of the books at all.
No.
They didn't use enough.
All they used Ben. They used the name Ben.
They used Ben.
Yeah,
and of course they just ripped that. They just ripped that off in the first movie. So I mean, just like they ripped off everything else in the first movie.
It was like you're not even going to give us the twins. Luke. Luke and Leia were twins. So Han and Leia, they had twins, Jason and Jaina. You couldn't give us those at least. But
I
you
know, right?
Ben to be Leia and Han's kid.
And then you got a random Palpatine running around.
Yeah, and oh, good God, don't give me that.
We're going to have to start a whole new podcast, guys.
Oh, no. Hey, listen, you want to do a sci-fi podcast? I'll do a sci-fi podcast. No problem. We won't waste these people's time that want to know about astronomy, about sci-fi stuff.
She takes her lightsaber, she draws it, and she strikes me down.
And she's got
That just sounds like a really bad porno.
And you've got all these Sith, supposedly all the Siths come also rise up out of from this back stadium. 50,000 Sith strong. Where the hell did these guys come from?
No idea. Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Not a clue.
And by the way, I'm going to go to the inner core. I'm going to get all my friends to save the entire galaxy.
Absolutely.
All the way back to the outer rim and meet you guys. It's going to take me about
20,000 years.
Just
3,000 years just to get to there. But I'll be right back. I'll be back in about 2 days.
Yeah.
With Lando.
Hold on. I got to go to the Dune universe and steal a space folder.
Exactly. They're here just in time, and they saved us.
Unbelievable. I can't take it.
Kathleen Kennedy. That whole writing and J.J. Abrams. No, never again.
No, please no.
Never touch another Star Wars franchise.
Or Star Trek for that matter.
Or IP again.
I can't.
Bad robot doing some of this.
The guy, I got to be honest with you. The guy has, you ever watch his movies, and his TV shows for that matter. It's good in the beginning, and then it ends crappy. It's good in the beginning. Whatever movie he does, it ends. I don't think I've seen a good J.J. Abrams anything.
Not even Star Trek.
No.
I did like
the first movie reboot. I did like the first movie reboot.
The first one was but the second one with Khan? No.
Yeah, that was completely ridiculous. Made no sense at all.
Doctor Strange is now Khan.
They should have put his cape on him. You know?
Yeah, he's gonna fling his cape at him.
I'll tell you, I like actors that I can pronounce their last name anyway, so I can't pronounce. Wait, I can't pronounce his name without laughing.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, we just lost Dan for a few minutes.
I can't.
It sounds like a crumb between a tuxedo and an omelet.
it's like Benedict's garbage patch.
I got eggs Benedict and I got a Cumberbatch.
Now, guys, let me explain something before we go any further with this ridiculousness. We haven't even started drinking yet.
Oh my. Unadulterated Dan and Eric.
This is a sci-fi tangent that's gone way out there.
Way out there. Oh my!
Well, and the funny thing, we always somehow end up back at this for the last 5 weeks.
I know, right? I think it's kind of my fault. I'll take all the blame for it.
We give you guys great content for like the first hour, and then after the first hour and a half,
bitching about Star Wars.
It's about Star Trek, Dune. It's about Dune. It's about everything. Ready Player One, you name it, it's gone.
I think we have Battlestar Galactica for a little bit.
Yeah, we did. Oh, God bless.
I swear, next time I'm going to bring out the theme song of Space 1999. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that or Doctor Who.
Oh, man. God bless him.
Yeah, we have Time Lords running around.
Yeah, no Time Lords are running around here.
Anyway, we're at a little past 11.
Yeah, so we're good. Yeah, we're good. So,
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're at about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, we have been. So our apologies on the long sci-fi rant, but you can get it.
That's all right. If you're ever not interested in astrophotography, just visit us the last 30 minutes of the show. We won't be talking about it.
It'll be God knows anything else.
We'll talk about Dan sucking his finger and sticking it outside.
We got to give you some that first hour, some helpful information that first hour.
We definitely got to build the content the first hour so they can listen to us babble the second hour.
Exactly.
But anyway, let's close this up. I think.
Yep. It's been a blast. Another great show.
Absolutely.
Great content, guys.
Yeah, nice job by everybody. Thank you, Jason, for running it. Eric, thank you so much for making your presentation again.
If anybody, again, we've got plenty of stuff, but if you guys have any thoughts of questions or anything that you would like us to research, talk about, anything like that, let us know. Share a comment, anything like that. I'm all up for research, because when I share stuff with you guys, trust me, I'm learning as I'm doing it. So it makes me a better, astrophotographer just by doing a lot of this stuff. So
I'll tell you, I learned more about sensors this week than I probably ever will want to know to learn. So
keep the ideas coming, guys.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna have to learn something so I can pick up one of the segments.
Again, kudos on that review, though, bud. Kudos on that review.
So you got your review coming out, right? You got another video coming out, Eric?
Oh yeah, I've got I've got a couple that I'm working on. I may do one on SharpCap, a little bit here, but I may do one on SharpCap talking about what we just did to Smart Histogram and sensor analysis. But I'm also doing a couple on imaging. Also on my targets. Like I say, I love dark nebula, so I'm looking at doing some dark nebula targets. So I'll be doing some videos on those too. So thanks, guys, for all the support for Astro with Eric and for AstroWorld TV. We're climbing it. Both, the channels are climbing. The channels are doing great. So appreciate all the support.
Yeah, and Jason, do you have a video coming out or no?
Not yet. I need to make some time and get some more content. It's been kind of busy over here, so I haven't been able to focus where I want to be focusing. Needed to take care of some personal stuff. So.
Gotcha. And I just finished the first part of the Sequence Generator Pro video.
Yeah, man.
So that's out. So the next one will be out next weekend. And I'm gonna pummel out probably about 7 or 8 videos on that. So
Yeah, hey, I may also do a video on. I know there's quite a few of them already out there, but I'm gonna throw my head in on ASIR Pro.
I
So,
was
No,
actually
do
going to
it,
say
man.
that was one of the things I was thinking about working on was do just a walkthrough tip to toe on the ASR Pro.
yeah,
do it because I know I'm still waiting on mine. So
okay,
it's been since January.
yeah. So hey,
Well, by the time you get it, there'll be a ASR Pro 2.
Dude, I gave up on it. I gave up. I forgot it. I bought a mini Windows computer and I put Sequence Generator Pro on it and I said the hell with it.
okay. No, great show, great show, guys. Looking forward to next week.
Yeah, and we'll figure out what we're talking about next week, and when we find out, you'll see the promo. I usually have the promos out or the preview spots on Mondays, and I'll put those out when we figure out what we're talking about. So,
Sweet.
from everybody here at AstroWorld TV, it's about 11:15 Eastern, so it's time for me to go to bed and these guys to have dinner. And again, like Eric said, if you have any questions, comments, anything you guys want us to go over, please let us know. We're happy to introduce any topic, as you can tell. And remember, guys, to keep imaging, keep educating, keep having fun, and we'll see you next week on AstroWorld TV. Have a good night and clear skies.
Clear skies.